I don't know. I just wanted to grumble about some things. As an indie animator, I have had my own problems with indie animation for quite some time now. For context, I have like my own like indie animated show. Me and my bestie have our own indie game, that sort of thing. And like, I don't know, a lot of the problems that I have with like indie animation, like as a whole, like they haven't been like addressed like by like most people. Like most people just tend to like gloss over the kinds of problems that I've been having. So I just wanted to grumble about it today while I drew a little bit. So yeah, here are my problems with indie animation as a whole. This doesn't really count for indie games and like the indie game market, but like but I may bring up like indie games and the indie gaming market probably for like just sometimes, probably for like a little bit in this video. I don't know. We'll just see how it goes, I guess. What I've mainly seen in the indie animation community, like as a whole, and the main thing that I've had like a big problem with to me is just there's a little bit of like an oversaturation like in the market, but like not like in the way like like plot wise or like character wise or like content wise, well, kind of sort of content wise, but basically the main thing that I've seen in recent pieces of indie animation and popular pieces of indie animation would be just an oversaturation of indie shows that just have like a lot of like bright colors in like their content like as a whole. Like with popular shows like Amazing Digital Circus or Has Been Hotel, for one thing. This is what I believe probably to be like the main problem with the audience of the Has Been Hotel and what the main target demographic is supposed to be. Because Has Been Hotel is supposed to be an adult show. It's the same thing with like a Hell of a Boss, for one thing. But due to how bright and flashy the animation is, and with all like the bright colors on the screen that you would see for example in the More Than Anything music video, or for just the whole show in general, the whole show is pretty much bright. And with basically one singular color palette aside for the scenes of heaven and all that. But like, my point is, this show is supposed to be an adult show, but due to like all the bright colors and the flashy, hyperactive animation, kids watch it. And that's not really discouraged either. There's plenty of pictures of the cast interacting with kids at cons, and a lot of the time the fandom will try to say like, oh yeah, this show isn't for kids, this is an adult show, it takes place in hell, this is not meant to be for kids. But at the same time, the cast will interact with kids at cons and take photos with them. So I don't know. It feels like a little bit of like a double standard, with marketing your adult show that's supposed to be for adults and encouraging kids to interact with the show and the crew members who make the show, pretty much. I don't know. It just feels weird. And it's the same thing with Amazing Digital Circus. Sure, that show may have like psychological themes and whatnot, but it's popular with kids due to like all like the bright colors and hyperactive animation that you see in like the vast majority of the pilot and during like all the rest of the episodes aside from the Halloween one. But I think you guys get what I'm trying to say pretty much. And the main issue that there is with having adult animated shows with like it or not, an audience of children is that people will try to like exploit those kids that are into these shows that are specifically meant for adults with the inclusions of, say, like content farms and bootleg plush toys that have been on the market for a little while now, ever since these shows have like really like gotten like really popular. For has been it was whenever the show like got like a big release on like Amazon, whenever like Amazon published the first episode. It may have been before that, like around the time like the pilot came out, but I'm not really sure. I'm just going off the top of my head here. But with Digital Circus, it had happened the same time that around like the pilot showed up. So, I mean, people have been quick to try and like, you know, make like content farm videos to like exploit kids and bootleg plush toys of these characters from these shows. And kids pick them up because they like plush toys. And children are more geared towards these shows because they have a, like, you know, like I said, a like bright color palette with like flashy, hyperactive animation. So I personally feel like that's a really big thing that like holds a lot of like indie animation like back like as a whole, and like further prioritizes the stigma that, oh, animation is a kid's medium, animation is meant for kids, when in reality these shows aren't really meant to be marketed towards them. It's just the ones that have the really bright, flashy, hyperactive animation that really draw kids into these shows, even though they aren't necessarily meant to have children as their target demographic. And within the market of indie animation, what I've seemed to have noticed is that the pieces of indie animation that get the most popular are always the ones that have like bright, flashy colors and like hyperactive animation, like I've said. It's grown to a big like oversaturation in the market of indie animation, where like all people really seem to want to like make indie animation wise are just shows that have like a really bright color palette or with like flashy animation, but it's mostly with the bright colors. And they do that because that's what the popular shows do. All the popular shows have like bright colors and hyperactive animation, so a lot of other people want to try and get in on that too. And the vast majority of the time, it works. And I know this because I actually applied to be a part of an indie animation zine for a little while ago, and that was just like a zine to like spread awareness on like other people's projects that aren't really like as like popular, you know, just to try and like, you know, promote other people's works of indie animation. And my show isn't really like one that has like, you know, like a lot of like bright colors. It doesn't have bright colors and doesn't have flashy animation. Its plot is more about trauma more than anything. And well, as you may have guessed by now, I got rejected from that zine. But all the rest of the entries who had made it in, they all had one thing in common, and that one thing in common was that they had really bright, eye-catching color palettes. And all the plots for these shows were stuff that, like, kids would be able to, like, you know, easily wrap their heads around, pretty much. And it feels really discouraging to see all of this, like, oversaturation in the indie animation market as someone who doesn't put bright colors or an easily digestible plot for kids to be able to wrap their heads around. It feels really discouraging. as someone who makes indie animation and has been in the game since like 2017. But Kevin, there's stuff like the Walton Files. There's stuff like the Mandela Catalog. That is analog horror. That's an entirely different market than like indie animation. That's an entirely different market. I'm talking about like shows that have like the potential to be on, like TV, or like streaming services and stuff like that. Not like analog horror series that people have been making for years now. That's not really my main focal point of what I'm trying to say, pretty much. And the main problem with oversaturation is that if you want something really good, like, and I mean like really good, like something that does not fit any of these boxes that I have basically, stated, that like, there's like no bright colors, there's no like flashy animation, you'd have to dig deep for it. And personally, I personally feel like that shouldn't be a thing. That shouldn't really be like that big of a problem. Like, the only things that I can really think of that really fit this caliber would be Metal Family and my own show. And my own show doesn't really count because, well, like I said, it's my own show. But like, this shouldn't be an issue. You shouldn't have to be able to look very hard to find a show that has none of these qualities that hold back like the shows that are popular and the shows that are becoming really like oversaturated in the indie animation market. You shouldn't have to be able to look really deep to find those types of shows. It just feels really discouraging. And the oversaturation seems to apply to the indie game scene as well. A lot of the time, anybody can put their game on Steam, no matter what it is. So the vast majority of like the Steam market for indie games, at least, has been mostly shovelware. Sure, you'll be able to find a few hidden gems within the Steam market, but a lot of the time, there's mostly shovelware. It feels really hard to try and be motivated, like a lot of the time whenever I was working on me and my bestie's game, I had always thought like, oh, this game won't get anywhere, people won't notice it, because the vast majority of the free games market, which is what we pretty much use because our team doesn't really make any profit from what we create, is so oversaturated with shovelware. People shouldn't be thinking that whenever they're making video games. People shouldn't be thinking that. People shouldn't be thinking about how oversaturated the market is and how full of shovelware the market is, like, as a whole. Those thoughts shouldn't be thought about. But in this day and age, it feels like that's the main thing that's really being thought about, and that's why the vast majority of people will try and make their games to be paid. Sometimes, even when the game is free, there can still be a little bit of a hidden gem within the free games community somewhere, and especially in the RPG Maker scene. Like, there's been a lot of really good free RPG Maker games that have made it onto Steam. I've played a little free RPG Maker indie game that was on Steam called The Aquarium Does Not Dance. And it's a really good game. It's a really beautiful game. But not a lot of people really talk about it because, well, A, for one, it's all in Japanese, and B, it's not really all that well known because it's free. And personally, I feel like people should at least try to be able to give like more indie games. Like, if you can have enough of a brain to be able to recognize what is shovelware and what is not, then you could possibly be able to try and give a little bit more free games a try, Like, a lot of the time, whenever I see people talking about free games, people don't really talk about free games in like a really positive way. They always try to be like, oh, this game is free, so it must be shovelware. Where's all the paid games? Where's all the paid AAA games? I want to play the paid AAA games, not any of the free indie stuff that's on the market. Even though a free indie game may be just as good, if not better, than whatever is on the AAA market, Because a lot of the AAA market is just as bad as what the indie gaming market is, There's not really a lot of tough competition here. It's more of just a problem of oversaturation in the market. Not just in the gaming market, but in the indie animation market as well. So, I mean, it feels really discouraging as someone who makes indie content. But that's just a few of the problems that I have with the indie market as a whole. I just really felt like trying to get that off my chest a little bit. I don't know if you guys will agree with me on problems that I have, but if you would like, then maybe talk about it in the comments a little bit. If you like the speed paint that you're seeing on the screen, then go check out me and my bestie's game. It's on Steam right now, and as I've said before, it's free. So if you would like to, you can go check it out if you like what you're seeing on the screen right now. And, well, that's about it. See you around, I guess.